Onze hande is koud. Ja, maar het is. Nee, ons kan niet. Dat is soms ons slapen. Ik heb gewoon gezegd, ik heb gewoon ouderdom, maar weer.
Wat is jij aan?
Ik is 16.
En ek het hom maar probeer raad gee en vir haar sê, Charmaine, bly maar in die kamer, moenie uitgaan nie. En toe vra ek vir haar, as jy honger? Toe sê sy vir my, ja. Toe sê ek, maar waar is die oom? Hoekom kry jy nie kos nie? Toe sê sy, nee, hy is buite. Toe sê ek vir haar, sy moet hardloop, kom bys toe. En vir haar 'n broodjie gaan vat of iets om te eet, want sy was klein en maar. Seker, want as hy haar iets gaan doen, gaan sy nie krag hê om met hom te beklei nie.
She said that she's scared and then he must not lie next to her and on the stage she said that, don't touch me, your hands are cold. So I was thinking he's crazy. I mean, how old is he and how old is Charmaine? How could he do that? But I never thought that it would go so far as it did.
Kriel is a small industrial town in Mpumalanga, South Africa. It's where Charmaine Mare spent her childhood. It was a tough life. Her poverty-stricken parents battled to raise her and her brother.
Hulle het regtig baie swaar groot geword.
School bus driver Hunty Venter loved Charmaine like a daughter.
Toe sy 10 jaar oud was, toe het hulle by ons ingetrek. Toe was sy nog 'n klein dogtertjie. Hulle het baie swaar gekry. Ek het hulle gehelp. Toe hulle by my ingetrek het, ek het Charmaine en haar boetie eintlik gehelp grootmaak. Charmaine was baie by ons in die huis. Sy het so te sê by ons in die huis gebly, sy het net by haar ma geslaap. Sy was omtrent elke aand voordat sy gaan slaap het, was Charmaine by ons in die huis. En dan het sy gekom en gewoonlik het sy my voete gemassage. En so het ek so lief geraak vir Charmaine, baie lief geword vir Charmaine. Charmaine was so 'n saggeaarde kind. Sy het hierdie klein seentjie van my gehelp grootmaak. Sy en Jean-Pierre het baie gespeel. Hulle het groot geword saam met Charmaine. Charmaine was so sag, sy was so lief vir kinders, maar sy was so bang vir 'n man. En die enigste mans vir wie sy nie bang was nie, was haar pa, my man, my seun en vir Jean.
In this video clip, Charmaine plays with her brother and little Jean-Pierre. Charmaine had left Kriel just once in her life, on a holiday to Durban when she was 12 years old.
Sy was die eerste keer wat sy op vakansie was. Toe was sy saam met ons see toe. En ek wens ek julle kon haar gesig gesien het. Toe sy die see die eerste keer gesien het.
But in January 2013, the teenager would again head towards the coast, this time to settle in Cape Town and create a better future for herself and her family.
Sy wil altyd gehad het ons met 'n beter lewe hê. Dis hoekom op sy hiernatoe gekom het, laat sy vir ons 'n beter, want sy het gesê sy gaan my en haar pa baie mooi oppas. Na ons kyk. Laat ons nie so met sukkel nie.
My hart was baie seer toe sy vir my gesê het sy gaan Kaap toe. Toe sê ek vir haar, sy moenie Kaap toe gaan nie. Is baie hartseer, ek wil nie hê sy moet weggaan nie. Toe sê sy vir my, ja, maar sy wil weggaan, want daar is vir haar 'n toekoms. En toe het ek vir haar gesê, maar sy moet hierso bly, want sy kan hier ook 'n toekoms hê. Toe sê sy vir my, nee, sy gaan saam met Christen. Voor sy uitgeloop het by my deur, toe het sy omgedraai en my so gevat om my nek en my gesoen. Toe sê ek vir haar, Charmaine, bly by ons. Jy hoef nie weg te gaan nie. Toe sê sy vir my, nee tannie, ek gaan.
Charmaine and Kristen White were high school friends, and when Kristen decided to relocate to Cape Town to live with her mother, she encouraged Charmaine to come with her.
I decided to move to Cape Town to be with my mom and just start off new, everything. And then with the struggle that I saw Charmaine and her family going through, I thought maybe if we take her with, she could have a better lifestyle and she could get a job or maybe finish school.
I saw the circumstances of how she was living, and they had no electricity, things like that.
Charmaine was afraid to fly to Cape Town alone, and so she opted to travel with Kristen, despite the fact that she would be left in the care of a stranger for several days. That stranger was Johannes de Jager.
I did speak to the mom, and I explained to the mom that we've already booked a boat cruise at the end of May. The boat cruise has been booked, so she must come down after, when we come back from the boat cruise. Then they said no, but Charmaine was too scared to fly alone. She wants to fly down with Kristen. So I explained to her mom, then she'll have to stay with my boyfriend because I have to go on the boat cruise, which I promised the kids.
The two teenagers arrived at their new home in Kraaifontein, Cape Town, on the 3rd of January 2013.
She was excited, but in the same we can say she was scared. Really she was, because she didn't know Cape Town and she didn't know Kristen's mother and Johannes de Jager. So she didn't know them. So she was very shy and scared, but I told her that it will be okay.
Charmaine was very quiet in the beginning and everything. But then, because we bought her a whole lot of Christmas presents, and because, they just arrived after Christmas, and I bought my daughter and Nick and Charmaine some Christmas presents, and she was very shy, didn't want to open them. But then the next day she opened them. We took them all to the beach. We took them out that night. They were fine. The atmosphere was nice.
Every day she spoke to me in the morning, during the day, while I was at work. Sometimes I get a BBM message from her and then I just reply. And she's just telling me that she and Kristen is walking around in the house and watching TV and making popcorn and stuff like that.
She was a lovable child, very withdrawn. But once you get to know her, she was bubbly, lovable. Her and my daughter were naughty, normal naughty. They used to, like if I say to them, go clean your room, they'll run and ha-ha. Then they go lie on their beds on their cell phones. Things like that. They've got on very well. She was an adorable girl.
She was a very outgoing person. She liked to do new things. She's one of those, she'll rather spend her day making someone else smile. And she brought happiness to an atmosphere.
I went to the school to try to get her into the school, but the school refused. They say it's a problem child. And then we got her an interview at USAVE, just get her into a job till she finds something else.
But after Kristen left, everything changed.
When Carol, her daughter, and Johan's son left on the planned boat cruise, Charmaine was left in the care of Carol White's trusted boyfriend. It was just 4 days after her arrival in Cape Town. De Jager was a mechanic who had lived with Carol for 4 years. Charmaine continued to message friends and family back home, but alone with Johan, the messages became ominous as her fear intensified.
She said that Johan is making, she called it funny things. She wrote to me on BBM, he's doing funny things to her. He's asking her funny things and asking her, can he go in the bathroom and wash her back? And he said that he's not going to give her any food if she's not sleeping with him. And then she said she'll stay in her room up until Kristen get back.
Charmaine became increasingly terrified. She sought the help of a Kraaifontein estate agent down the road. She told him she was scared of the man she was staying with and begged him for money so that she could return home. Instead, he gave her his cell phone number so she could contact him if she felt threatened. She went back to the house. On the Wednesday, 2 days after being left alone with Johan, she started recording Johan's sexual advances on her cell phone. She sent them to Nikita.
Onze hand is koud. Nee, Martha. Nee, oom. Kan ek asseblief alleen lê? Maar wil jy oom by my lê nie? Want ek wil nie, oom. Nee, oom, ek kan nie. Dat is soms om te slaap, nie? Ek het van gesê, ek is onder ouderdom, oom, weet dit.
Wat is jy aan?
Ek is 16.
Ja?
Nog steeds.
En nog niet geslapen?
Nee.
Nee, nog niet. 16 uur nog niet geslapen.
Maar dit werk niet zo met mij niet. Ik wacht tot ik getrouwd is.
Als je getrouwd is?
Ja.
Dan vergeet je samen slapen. Samen wakker blijven die problemen.
Van die Dinsdag af, toe het sy vir my BBM's begin stuur en boodskappe begin stuur en vir my gesê, Tannie, ek is bang. Tannie, hy vat aan my. Wat moet ek maak? En ons is in Kriel. Ek meen, ons is hier, ons is so ver.
I phoned to the Jager cell phone and I asked him, he asked me, do I want to speak to Charmaine? I said, no, I want to speak to you. And I spoke to him. And then I told him I'm Charmaine's mother and Charmaine is complaining, he's touching her and making sexual advantages towards her. And then he said, no, I'm not doing that and I won't touch your child. And he was just laughing. He made a joke out of it.
Maar wil jy oom by my lê nie? Want ek wil nie, oom.
It was obvious that Johan was lying and Charmaine was in grave danger.
I phoned the Kraaifontein police station 4 times. They said they will send out a van to come and pick Charmaine up and take to the police station, and then they will give me a call and I will arrange a ticket for her to get back to Joburg. And they never phoned me and they never pitched up.
Elke kind het sy regte om nee te sê. Hoekom het haar nie gelos nie? Soos hy my ook gesê het, ja, hy wil vir haar nie kos gee oor seks. Sê ek nou, hoe so? Sy sê, maar hierdie oom is baie anderste. Baie lelik met haar. Toe sê ek vir haar, jy moet eet. Sy sê, maak is so honger. Sê ek, nou gaan sny vir jou broodjie. Toe sê sy, die man wil nie. Hy wil nie my kos. Hy het haar vir 'n week sonder kos gelos, sonder water. Toe sy dat vir my sê, toe loop die trane. Toe sê ek, ai my kind, ek wens ek het geld gehad om jou te gaan haal. Ek het enige plan gemaak. Maar daar's niemand wat my wou gehelp het nie.
I asked Charmaine to look at the window because she said she couldn't go out of the house. I don't know why, but she said she couldn't go out. I asked her to just check the road. Maybe if the police will come, she can just open the window and call them. But she said there was no police. It's just horrible. The police really, because I've told them she's 16 years old and this guy is making sexual advantages to her. Why didn't they go? They don't care. I feel like they don't care.
Charmaine took refuge in drawing while waiting endlessly for Kristen, Karel and de Jager's son to return from their boat cruise.
Sy wil altyd geskilder het. Sy wil haar eie tatoeëer winkeltjie oopgemaak het. Sy het so verskriklike mooi tattoos gemaak. Sy het ook op haar rug van die butterflies wat Charmaine geteken het. Dit is haar grootste droom, haar grootste wens om te skilder, om te teken. As sy geteken het, dan straal het. Maar nou in die laaste tyd toe sy in Kraaifontein het, sy het maar alles geteken wat huil. Die trane wat uit die mense se oë uitvloei, die roos wat 'n traan gelos het.
Ek gaan net weer in die kamer bly, want ek wil 'n prentjie teken.
Prentjie teken?
Ja.
This drawing of a crying child is believed to be her last.
When her phone was off, I realized that Charmaine is not that kind of person. She won't put off her phone. Her phone is her life. So if her battery was low, she would have put it on charge. So then I got worried about 9 or 10 o'clock when she didn't answer me. When I gave her a call, it went on voicemail. I left a few voicemail messages and she didn't get back to me. So then I knew that there was something wrong.
En die donderdag aand, 2 minute voor 7, was die laaste wat ek van Charmaine gehoor het. Toe begin ons bekommerd raak, want ons hoor niks van Charmaine nie.
On January the 11th, Kristen, her mother Karel, and Nick, Johan's son, were coming into the Cape Town harbour to dock. They were expecting to see both Johan and Charmaine.
We had no signal or anything we docked on the Friday morning. Just after 5, we started to get signal. My daughter was outside and I was sitting packing all the stuff, the last bits that we had to pack, and my daughter just came in. She was hysterical and I couldn't calm her down, and I'm saying, what's going on, what's going on? And then that's when she says to me, Mommy, she's just got a BBM to say that Johan is trying to sleep with Charmaine and sitting next to her, and Charmaine's scared. And so we both tried to phone, but every time we phone, we get cut off or no one was answering. And we just carried on phoning. We didn't know what was going on.
When they docked, Charmaine wasn't there.
Johan was there alone. We asked Johan, where's Charmaine? So he says, no, apparently she went to go and buy cigarettes that morning and she didn't come back on time. And he went to look for her and couldn't find her, so he left because of the traffic. Otherwise, he's going to be late because of the traffic. So when we were in the car, my daughter and I spoke to him and said, listen, but we got BBMs, you tried to sleep with her, and is it true? And he said no. He denied all allegations that he tried to sleep with her. And then when we got home, Charmaine wasn't there. So we went driving around Kraaifontein. We went to places that her and my daughter used to go to. We couldn't find her anywhere. We went to every shop to ask if they'd seen her, and no one had seen her. And then they all went to the police station. Johan, his son, the neighbour, Sonia, Kristen, and I stayed at home just in case she came to the house. And we reported her missing. Then we still drove around at night looking for her. The next morning, my daughter and I went and got a whole lot of flyers made, and we put out flyers. Then I didn't know where to turn, who to speak to, what to do, so I went back to the police station and I asked them to please let me speak to someone.
Meanwhile, Johannes de Jager was desperately trying to cover his tracks.
Saturday afternoon, we went riding around again. We put up more flyers where we could. And then that night, we got a call. Kristen said it's from her auntie, a SMS to say that Charmaine's at a bus station. I phoned the police again and I asked the police to please come and help us. They came to us and I explained the whole situation to them. And they said, no, but there's too many bus stations. They can't go from bus station to bus station.
The SMS from Charmaine's phone informing her loved ones that she was returning home was in fact sent by Johan.
Then the police phoned us and asked us to please come down to the police station. And we went to the police station and there was about 5, 7 of them all asking us questions. Why did we put up the flyers? Who put up the flyers? We actually thought we were in trouble for putting up flyers, the way they were going on. But they said they were watching our body languages. And then in the end, I don't know what I said. Johan said something and I said, but it's all your fault. You tried to sleep with a poor little girl. And that's when they took Johan away. And then it all started.
At that point, Carol and her daughters still believed that Charmaine was alive and perhaps making her way back to her hometown, Kriel.
One policeman or colonel, I don't know, came in and said to us, they just want to give us our condolences. So we all looked at her because no one's, and then the one inspector said, but we haven't told them yet. And that's when they told us no, that they found a body, and they asked my daughter about the belly ring, earring.
Sy sou op haar verjaarsdag teruggekom het en vir haar gesurprise het.
They phoned me on my birthday to tell me that Charmaine, they found her and she's been murdered. At that time I was working at the school. I just left everything and I just fell to my knees and I cried. And then my boss said I could go home because she could see I'm not. And I even left my job because I couldn't concentrate. I was just thinking about her the whole time and I felt guilty.
Toe Dinsdagoggend toe ek skool toe gaan was omtrent so 9:30. Toe bel 'n ander vrou my, toe sê sy vir my, hulle het Charmaine gekry. Ek kon nie glo wat hulle vir my gesê het nie, want ek het gesê dit kan nie wees nie. Sy kan nie dood wees nie.
Of course, I didn't think it was Johan who did it. I thought maybe Charmaine was just deciding to get back home and she went to buy a bus ticket or whatever, and then something happened to her. Maybe someone took her phone and killed her. I didn't think it was Johan doing it. I didn't expect that.
I really don't know how I felt. I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. At that moment, you thought you were walking in a nightmare and someone's going to say, hey, wake up. And then they asked me, can they go search my car? They went and searched my car. They asked me if they'd search my house. They all came to my house and searched my house with the dogs. And I had to take all Johan's stuff out, throw it on the floors for him. And that's when we found his work jacket. And we gave the work jacket to the police. And then the police found her cell phone.
Charmaine's cell phone was in de Jager's possession, and the focus of the police investigation turned on him. Gruesome details of Charmaine's horror murder would now come to light. On the 15th of January, police seized de Jager's Ford Mustang and the cell phone. He was arrested on the same day. While police had found a burnt torso in an open field they believed was the teenager's, they still needed to find the rest of Charmaine's dismembered body.
Weet julle hoe voel dit? Hier in jou hart, wat jy weet, daai kind het geen verweer gehad nie. Hoe moes sy haar beskerm het teen so 'n man? Ons is in Kriel, ons kan haar nie eens gaan help het nie. Weet julle hoe voel dit?
Court reporter Tanya Menges has been covering cases like this for the past decade.
So he casually testified in court how he just took a knife, cut through the sinews of the elbow and the knees, and then used the tree cutter to get through the sinews. And after that, you can just pull the bone out, no problem. So that's how he cut off the knees and the elbows in order to get the body out. So he put both the knees in one box, put the lower arms in another box, took the body with petrol and burned the torso. The state said he burned the torso in order to hide evidence that he had raped her.
A search of de Jager's garage and they found her arms hidden in a box under the car. De Jager agreed to point out to police where he had discarded her body parts. He had used his motorbike to transport her legs in a backpack and then discarded them off the N2 highway. Her torso was found here, behind this wall. He had doused it with petrol and set it alight. He confessed that he had indeed cut her up using a tree cutter, but claimed she had fallen in the bathroom, hit her head on the bath and died. In a panic, he said he had hidden her body in the drain. When her body began decomposing, he decided to remove it. Swollen, he said he had to cut it up with a tree cutter to get it out of the drain.
If she fell on the bath, why didn't you call an ambulance? Why didn't you call the police? Why do you put someone in a drain? It just doesn't, a normal person doesn't react like that. It just doesn't make any sense.
He denied raping her, but admitted it was his voice on her cell phone recordings.
Nee, Martha. Nee, want kan ek asseblief alleen lê?
He also told the court that Charmaine had told him she had been raped before and was a lesbian.
Hoekom het haar so lelik vermink? Hoekom? Is nie 'n dier daai nie. Dis my meiskind gewees. Sy was so maar en tingerig. Maar ek sê nou nog, sy het beklei. Sy het teen hom beklei.
I think he's crazy, really. I don't think he's human. Especially like that, he said, like, it's the same as cutting up a goat. There's no humanity to him. He's not like a human.
Nikita made the journey to Cape Town to see de Jager for herself. In court, she hoped to find closure.
I've got mixed emotions. I really hate him. But in a matter of fact, I feel sorry for him because he's messed his whole life. What about his kids? What about Carol? When I look at him, especially his hands, I can't believe that those two hands did that to Charmaine.
Die lewe vir my daai kant is baie swaar. As elke keer kyk ek, wanneer sien ek haar weer. Want ek het haar so gesien, so uitgeloop met haar ou tassies en ek verwag sy moet weer terugkom. Ek en my man gesels in 'n bittermin. Ons nou altyd gesels het, ons het gelag, nou nie meer nie. As ek na hom kyk of ons kyk na haar foto, dan loop die trane. Want ons het nie verwag sy gaan so gou dood nie. Sy was 16 jaar oud.
In the beginning, when the case started, he was very, very aggressive towards journalists. he would smack at the photographers, and he actually hit one. And as the case progressed, he obviously realized, his lawyer told him, please, don't. So then I would go up to him and say, Mr. de Jager, can you smile with me for a photo? And he would. The case went on for about 6 months. And in that time, he kind of relaxed with journalists and kind of realized in that sense, look, there's nothing I can do about this. But in the beginning, I mean, he smacked and he went out. And you can see that there's an aggressive man in there who had a temper. And I think when Charmaine didn't want to give him the sexual attention he wanted, he just lashed out.
For Carol White, who had been living with him for 4 years, discovering that her boyfriend was a cold-blooded murderer was devastating.
You ever feel you're walking, but you're not there? You blame yourself. You wish to God you saw something. Or, why didn't I notice? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I even notice he was that type of person? I don't know. You don't know where to go. You have to go to work. You've got to keep strong for your child. It's a nightmare. Something you just can't explain. You've got to live it.
It's scary to know we've been living with him. He hasn't shown any signs like that. None of us realized anything, and then this is how it turns out. It's actually scary to know we lived with him.
When I first met Johan, we got on very well. We used to go away weekends. He used to belong to a car club. We were always away with a car club. He was very outgoing, fun-loving person. I just don't understand.
De Jager was charged with the murder and rape of Charmaine Mare, and in another shock for those close to him, he was also charged with the rape and murder of an 18-year-old prostitute, Hiltina Alexander, in 2008. His DNA had been found under her fingernails.
He explained his DNA under her nails by saying when he took her to the other Johan, some fictional character who he says wanted a prostitute, she played with his private parts while they were driving. So he has to explain away things that are valid evidence.
In April 2014, De Jager was found guilty of all charges.
Ek is bly dat hy skuldig bevind aan dit wat hy gedoen het aan my en wie weet nog ander mense ook. Maar so ja, weet ek ook, my kind sal nie weer kan terugkom na ons toe nie. Dit is 'n groot leemte in ons lewe en ons mis haar verskriklik. Ek was baie kwaad geweest. Hoekom? Ek wou vir hom gevra het, hoekom het hy dit gedoen? Wat het sy aan hom verkeerd gedoen? Sy het hom nie eens geken nie. Maar ja. Ek wil net hê die gereg moet sy hom sy lank toe laat sluit. Almal moet daarteen wees, laat hy nie parol of niks kan kry nie. Hy moet net toegesluit word vir die res van sy lewe. Laat hy kan besef wat hy gedoen het. Was verkeerd aan hy 2 kinders. Wat hy vermoor het.
Brigadier Gerard Labuschagne, a police forensic psychologist, testified in the trial that de Jager should be classified as serial killer.
We typically say 2 murders on at least 2 separate occasions, and there's more of an inner psychological drive to commit a murder, which is why we wouldn't, for example, call a cash and transit robber who on 2 separate cash and transit robberies happens to kill a security guard. We wouldn't really refer to them as a serial murderer in a sense of how we understand the word, because their motivation is the obtaining of money. You know, the killing of that guard is really a stepping stone to them obtaining what they want. So as a result of there being 2 separate murders, in de Jager's case, we felt quite comfortable that also in both cases there was an underlying sexual element to it. There was no practical purpose for him to kill those individuals. We were quite happy to say that he then falls within the definition of a serial murderer.
De Jager was sentenced to 3 life terms that will run concurrently. The judge described him as lacking in remorse and said his demeanor was so arrogant it bordered on contempt of court.
I think he thinks he's a very, very clever guy. And he was caught out by a young girl who wouldn't give up and who knew, I have to get some evidence of him. And she didn't only keep it on her phone, that's why he took her phone. She sent those recordings to friends and family. Because when he initially took the phone, he threw it out in a field. Then he went to pick it up again, because he didn't know how to get rid of the recordings on the phone. That's why he kept the phone. And that is what got him.
What we experience with serial murderers is that they're obviously going to have a lack of empathy for their victims. They might be able to display empathy in other contexts, but for their victims, unfortunately, that's a totally different category of person for them. They might have no respect for their victims or not even see them necessarily as human beings. So the fact that over the days leading up to the murder, that he harassed her, it even terrorized her, if one wants to use that word, I mean, isn't really surprising.
For de Jager's friends and family, the revelations were staggering.
Stable employment, people like them, family and friends don't pick up any strange behaviors, etc. So in that way, he is very similar to quite a number of our serial murders. What we also have to understand is serial murder is not just one concept. These guys are not all the same. Their personalities probably vary almost as much as the general population's personality varies. And that's very difficult, again, for people to understand, because they want serial murders to all be a certain way, and it's a way that we can easily identify and pick up sort of certain behaviors to warn ourselves. But the majority are very boring and mundane individuals who are not particularly intelligent, who go out and commit crimes, very often because of poor policing in many circumstances. And that really allows them to get away with their crimes, as opposed to being sort of these great criminal geniuses. So in that way, yes, we've seen the de Jagers quite a few times before in our other serial murderers.
It's left those who were once close to de Jager shattered.
Well, we don't trust no one. I don't even tell people where I live. Only my closest friends. We were threatened in the beginning. We had coloured guys coming to my house from Paulsmoor, telling me I must forgive Johan, the devil was in him, and so I moved from my house. Now I don't tell anyone where I live. My daughter's taken it bad.
Kristen moved back to Kriel after the murder to live with her father. She spends her free time drawing in memory of her friend.
I don't trust people anymore so easily. I think that's also an eye-opener, because you never know who you're trying to trust. And also, it's made me more cautious in life. I used to always think of the bad that's happened, but now I just think of all the smiles and laughs we shared. And I actually wish it wouldn't have happened to her.
Charmaine's mother was only able to face her daughter's killer once, on Judgment Day in the Western Cape High Court. trip to Cape Town was difficult for her, but she was determined to look Johannes de Jager in the eyes.
As hy moet uitkom weer, gaan hy dieselfde doen. Hy sal dieselfde doen. Ons moet almal saam staan laat hy nie kan loskom nie. Want sulke mense behoort nie om vry te loop nie. Eintlik die doodstraf moet weer terugkom. Sulke mense moet eider by die doodstraf gaan of vir lewenslang in die tronk bly.
Charmaine's parents live out the long days in Kriel in a tiny, rent-free Wendy house. They depend on the kindness of the community to help them survive.
If there's no food, there's no food. That was her big wish, is to just help her parents. And you will get her crying at night because there's no food and she's worried. But at least her brother is old enough now to go his own way. And at night he will bring maybe 6 buns or a half loaf of bread, and that's what they will eat. So it's just going the way it was before Charmaine's death. It's just the same. Her father is very old. He's not young anymore. And if he's doing car watch, and if you stop there where he's standing doing car watch, you will always see him looking into heaven. And then he will say, there's Charmaine, even a bird's flying or a star, or then he will say, there's Charmaine. And I will see Charmaine one day, and you can see the hurt, you can see it. And Charmaine's mother, she's not healthy anymore. She's very sick, and every day if you go to her, she's crying, and she's got a big photo of Charmaine hanging on the wall. And she takes flowers every day, put flowers there, and kisses the photo, and she still believes that Charmaine will return. She's not gone.
Each week, Nikita takes them to Charmaine's grave to pay their respects. They could not afford the trip to Cape Town to witness de Jager being sentenced, so instead they visited Charmaine's grave. It's the 27th of May 2014, and de Jager is sentenced to life behind bars. The news filters back to Charmaine's family.
Die arme kind, hy kon nie weet wat om te doen, om hoe te help nie. Plek wat hy nie ken nie. Ek is bly, nee, my vader. En die my vader, hy is Satan. Hy is slegte, heilige duivel. Koes gestraf het. Dat hy ook maar sy eie gif kry.
Johannes de Jager sal ek nooit vergewe nie. Nooit. In die Bybel staan, mens moet vergewe. Hoe kan jy 'n man wat dit aan 'n meisiekind gedoen het, haar heeltemal uitmekaar het gesny het, haar gebrand het. Hoe kan 'n mens iemand vergewe? Jy kan dit nie doen nie. Daar's nie 'n manier hoe jy iemand kan vergewe vir dit wat hulle aan daai kind gedoen het nie. Sy was soos my kind. Daar's nie 'n manier dat ek hom ooit sal vergewe nie.
Charmaine's loved ones are left with just their memories and the horror of what happened to her.
I wish I could have stopped her. Or I wish I could have come here. When she started telling me that he's doing stuff like that, I wish I could come to her and just be with her so that she can't be scared anymore.
The state recommended that de Jager never be considered eligible for parole.
A serial murderer cannot be rehabilitated. The primary reason why is we do not know why one individual becomes a serial murderer. They have just as varied backgrounds and personalities as the rest of society does. And without knowing why, it's difficult to understand what can we do to change them. Also because there's very often a lack of remorse, and that remorse is really what motivates us to change. If you don't feel you've done something wrong, you have no reason to change. And the great difficulty is that in the same way that they appear very normal outside, when they're committing their crimes, which is why everybody's surprised eventually who it is that gets arrested, they behave just as normally inside prison. So your internal prison behavior, which is often what people judge you on when it comes to parole, is not a good benchmark for deciding whether a serial murderer is no longer a danger to society.
I think if that man's let out again, he would do it again. And I don't believe that these were the only people he murdered.
For those who loved Charmaine, it's still inconceivable that she fell into the clutches of a serial killer. Her grave is now the constant reminder that her family could not help her in the days leading up to her death.
My house is quiet because Charmaine was the one that was always making jokes, and especially she liked to make coffee. Every 10 minutes she will get a cup of coffee next to you. And yeah, and even my children, they really loved her. And when they go to bath, they will ask Charmaine to bath them. Charmaine must lay next to them. Charmaine must put on the DVDs for them. Charmaine must do everything. So it's quiet. There's no life. It's like dead. Yeah.
As ons net die tyd kan terugdraai. En ek dink dit sal goed wees as ons dit kon gedoen het, maar ongelukkig kan ons nie. Net te weet, want ons nooit laat sy gegaan het nie.
That girl was clever. She got him. She spoke from the grave.